Hello and welcome to the A&P. I am Alex Johansson and my co-host Patrick McCallum. Patrick,
Hello, everyone. How are you getting on?
we're having logical discussions about the state of the world. Let's get into it, brother.
Heyo, Patrick, how you doing, bud?
Not too well at all, buddy. How are things?
Doing great. What's up with our beverage choice today? You want to tell me about that?
I knew you were going to bring down the podcast. I know. I just got myself a nice bottle of wine that I sent in for the evening.
Right, and I'm sure you went to the glass cabinet and got an appropriate vessel for your refreshing adult beverage. I'm sure. Is that what you did?
Yes, yeah. I'm in the Yeah, no, actually, no. I was just lazy, just reach for the nearest incidental whole liquid.
Would that be your favorite coffee mug, sir?
I knew you were going to bring this up. I just knew it. I absolutely knew it. Yes. It's my favorite coffee mug because I'm too lazy to get up and go to my glass cabinet.
We all make choices in life, don't we? All right, Patrick. So today we have Connor Tomlinson, and he is discussing the concept that James Lindsay brought up, which is if you continue to call something racist, you can then begin to regulate it and then control it. So it functions as a sort of regulatory information brokering, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you can get
we've seen that quite a lot over the years. Yeah,
you can get governments and NGOs and other entities to regulate the speech because it might be offensive to someone, even if that group of people be a very, very small percentage. It's the drive to utopia problem where no one can get offended and everybody's equal kind of thing. And it's super difficult to navigate waters or even manipulate concepts that way. Yeah.
It's impossible to keep everyone happy. Yeah, absolutely impossible.
Right. As the same thing when Jordan Peterson was talking with a BBC host, and he said, you have no problem offending me, right? You seem quite comfortable with it. So then where does that stop? Right? Once we stop that, then there isn't any way to get through these concepts. And as a people, just be better people, right? The marketplace of ideas gets watered down so bad. It's like Irish stew that's 3/4 water. That's not good.
Yeah, but he comes up with a lot of interesting points from this article, actually, which is we've seen people being called racist if they disagree with anything that any of their governments do at the moment.
Right.
Oh, you're racist. You're kind of going, no, I'm not racist. I just don't like what you're doing.
Right. Conceptually, you're failing us, and we keep telling you, and then you continue to go against us because you're trying to save us and protect us. And in an attempt to save us, you're destroying our culture and our people. Please stop. Please stop doing the thing. All right, let's let Mr. Connor Tomlinson cook a little here.
Your average Guardian columnist is afraid because they've entered uncharted territory where their old reputation destruction spells and thought-stopping cliches no longer work. They no longer have purchase. They've cried wolf one too many times with accusations of racism, sexism, fascism, and Nazism.
All the isms. Lots of isms.
All isms.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is
all the bases are covered.
So at that point, you also end up othering another individual, which is where the canceling comes from. Because then the sharks circle and then they get rid of one threat and then they continue to go after threats. It appears to be an exceptionally feminine form of character destruction.
Assassination.
It's not the best.
Assassination. Let's call it what it is. It's absolutely disgusting because I've seen it many times over the years. The guy might make a offhand comment and next minute you wake up in the morning, there's about 60,000 messages in his inbox and he's been called every name under the sun.
Yeah, and then he loses his job and then he can't support.
Oh, yeah.
And it's bad. Because a fella who thought he had free expression, even a lady thought they had free expression, and they say something that is either biologically true or functionally just outside what someone else's opinion is, and that makes them not left enough or they're not in my camp, and they immediately get othered and jammed up in the worst possible way.
Oh, I see. We've seen so many times over the years. It's absolutely ridiculous at this stage.
Oh, and I got Connor on a really good facial expression there. Look at you, bud. Look at you. All right. Here we go.
And now they have spent all their moral currency. We do not have to take them seriously. This entire time, we could have just treated them like Freddy Krueger at the end of Nightmare on Elm Street or David Bowie at the end of Labyrinth and just said, you have no power over me. You're nothing. Your words are meaningless and they evaporate into a fine glitter. And this is what David Renton by the looks of him, a very respectable man or minion, has realised in the pages of The Guardian by saying lessons from an asylum hotel counter-protest, calling our opponents fascist doesn't work. The admission here is that they always knew what they were doing. They could always distinguish between actual Nazis, fascists, and racists, and their political opponents that they would like to beat with the ever-thinning stick of the bogeyman of the Second World War. So he writes, earlier this month, I helped organise a protest to defend the refugees holed up at the Thistle City Barbican Hotel in London. Now bear in mind, these refugees were men from the Middle East, North and Sub-Saharan Africa who leaned out of the window with their brand new iPhones, laughing and recording the clashes between police Antifa and the peaceful parent protests who were complaining about these, in many cases, foreign sex offenders housed in 4-star accommodation at their expense. So, reminder, this man is who's on the side of people like the Ethiopian who arrived and 8 days after he broke into Britain, sexually assaulted a girl in Epping. This is the guy that wants those men to continue to be housed at our expense.
That seems a bit unfair. The constituency of the UK has said they do not want this. They do not want them there. They want people to take appropriate action as far as immigration goes and legally emigrate to their country if they can contribute to the country. They can't contribute anything except the 450,000 pound bill that they all represent, right? Then they don't want them there because they don't add anything of...
As they keep trying to shove down our throats saying, oh, they're doctors and they're this and they're that. Most of these guys are really uneducated.
Oh, right, and they contribute no value. They don't contribute value. They represent a negative balance on the ledger, right?
Of course they do, because they don't have any skills to contribute towards any society they're going toward. As you said, they're just going to contribute a negative balance across the board.
Yep.
Anyway, continuing, we mobilised 800 people to support the asylum seekers, all locals I'm sure, who waved back at us from the hotel to show their gratitude. On the other side of the road, about 250 people had gathered to demand the hotel be closed. Speakers there called refugees illegal, invaders, and parasites, all correct. They broke into this country. Their first act upon arrival was to break our laws. They are exploiting the law-abiding, native, tax-paying population of this country, and they were never asked to come here. And if you were a grown man, apparently fleeing war in places like Morocco or Algeria, then 1, you were a coward, 2, you were exploiting the refugee system, and you were a fake asylum seeker. You were a fake refugee, and you should not be here. He said,
yeah, they're economic refugees. They're functionally exploiting the system. Yeah.
Everyone knows it. We have it in Ireland all the time. We can see it with our own 2 eyes. We're under no illusion. These guys are no more fleeing war than the man in the moon. They're coming over here to milk our systems dry. Because we both have a similar educational system, a similar social welfare system than the UK. We know exactly what they're doing. They're milking us dry.
And it doesn't appear that the MPs are really excited about doing the right thing.
No, they're scared of being called a racist. That's what they're scared of. They're scared of being labelled right-wing or racist or extreme. So what they're doing is selling everyone else down the river.
And that's a bad look. It really is.
Says, seeing and hearing our opponents, the anti-racists responded with a spontaneous chant of Nazi scum off our streets. Very spontaneous, yes. They sort of rote, learn, and recite this for every single protest, no matter the context. So they chant the same thing for women protesting about the invasion of their sex-segregated spaces by autogynephilic trans activists. They chant the same thing at people who are opposing the pro-Hamas marches that have occupied Westminster every weekend and Wednesday since October the 7th, and now they're chanting it against concerned parents who do not want their daughters preyed upon by foreign men who do not belong in the country in the first place. Reminder.
That seems pretty reasonable. To keep your children safe. That would seem like the right thing to do to me if someone were to attack a child of mine, and especially in that way, then I would assume the government's function to keep its people safe, right?
Like, a lot of these people are very unvetted. Okay, there's no way of vetting them to begin with. Let's clarify that. So we don't know what we're getting, who they are. We know roughly where they come from. So, because I'm just looking at headlines here from my own country at the moment. We had a stabbing incident outside an iPass centre, which is pretty much There are similar centers over there.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had every 2 or 3 days, we have headline after headline after headline. And it's not the protesters causing the violence, it's the people in these centers causing the violence.
So why aren't they immediately deported upon committing a crime? Why don't they just...
There actually are, but we go through a process where they're arrested by the Gardaí, they're tried in court, they go to prison, then we deport them afterwards.
Okay.
It has a same law. But
well, I understand
in
that,
the
but
meantime,
you're still paying to...
But you have to remember, in the meantime, that costs time.
Well, right, and you're also bearing the financial burden of incarcerating them.
Yeah.
Right? Is it that the two governments don't have any kind of interaction, say Morocco
well, to be honest,
Algeria?
let's face it, Algeria is a basket case of a country. We might as well just be down at the moon. Going to get any reasonable answer off them.
Right.
But most of these countries are, let's face it. That's why they're here. That's sugarcoat that one.
Makes
They're
sense.
basket cases. So what we do normally is what Britain does, and a lot of countries do, is we incarcerate them, get them served a sentence in our country, which costs us money, by the way.
Yes.
Then we deport them afterwards, which costs us more money.
Right.
And then there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. Then they won't come back afterwards.
Right. That seems to be the bigger issue, right? The United States has that same issue. Yeah, immigrants will come over and they'll get picked up 5, 6, 7, 20 times, sent back to wherever, and then they just come on right on back up. Just head north.
You have similar system. You have the same system as we do. You pick them up, you arrest them, you incarcerate them, send them back to where they came from. And 6 or 7 months down the line, they're back in your country again.
Right. California prisons have a huge issue with that. And the other thing they'll do is they'll get to Canada and then come south. And it's way easier to get across the Canadian border than the one between Mexico and the U.S. Way easier. So they just take a flight, boom, there they go, and then south they go. So
I thought the Canadian border was pretty strict.
Oh, no.
I know people who've lived and worked in Canada, and they've always adopted.
It's strict as far as if you take a roadway. If you don't take a roadway, you can pretty much go to Idaho, Washington State, Montana, Wisconsin, Michigan. Like, you can get to those places. And then once you're in, you say, I'm seeking asylum. And then you get a special work permit. I think it's called an H-1B.
Yeah, we have the same process here as well. We give them a blue card. We have very similar immigration very, very similar. I think most countries have a very similar way of doing things.
Well, if your immigration is low, it's not a big issue.
It's not a big issue, but we're having massive issues over here, same as the UK. We're getting absolutely hammered.
Yeah.
There's no way of covering it up anymore.
No. It's the cat on the hardwood floor problem, right? So
yeah.
Here we go.
Every single crime committed by an immigrant, legal or illegal, is a consequence of government policy. It never needed to have happened because that criminal didn't need to be in the country in the first place. And we are now number 1.
Pretty reasonable.
1 in Western Europe for crimes committed by foreign nationals. David here is supporting this state of affairs continuing. I am opposed to that, and I do not care what he calls me, and neither do the good people of Epping, or the Barbican, or Canary Wharf, or any of the other protests spearheaded by the Pink Ladies and other parents up and down the country. Good on them, and shame on David. He says, which our side was able to sustain for more than an hour, this spontaneous chant. By the way, spontaneous, no. Stand Up to Racism, as depicted here, are a renter mob that work for the Socialist Workers' Party.
You can tell by their signs, too. Those signs were specifically fabricated. You don't have an organic protest with prepared signs. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Like, that's
exactly.
It's a total setup, right?
Yeah.
It's just
it's obviously, as he said, there's some party behind it or some organization behind it.
Right.
That's funding these signs and getting them printed and so on.
Had much the same issue with a ton of prepared signs, and then pallets of bricks would just be delivered to places. Like, that's more than just consequential. Like, that's a setup.
I remember when we were going to cover those riots that time.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was, it just happened to be the delivery day for that region.
Just happened to.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, no, the worst part
I'm
was
just saying that sometimes that happens.
Right, but the pallets of bricks were being delivered to parking lots, like random parking lots, and just dumped and left.
Yeah, I shot exactly what happened. I shot a full video. What happened was that you shot a truck driver coming in. He shot a mob. He literally dumped the bricks down and just hightailed it out of there.
Well, right, but
So
generally,
technically he did his job, but
right,
he saw a massive mob and he was going, do you know what? I'm getting paid to deliver bricks. I'm going to deliver bricks and getting the hell out of Dodge.
right.
That
But
was
the
exactly
bricks weren't being delivered to a work site. The bricks weren't being
no, they were
delivered to.
delivered to what's it called? That one of those massive hardware stores over there.
Right.
But I shot a full because I remember we were talking to another buddy, and I looked at the full video, and I was going, yeah, that lorry driver did what I would do as a delivery driver. I deliver the stuff, and I'm getting the hell out of there because I'm not getting paid enough to tackle that mob.
Right. It's not. Yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah.
But it was.
So I understand. I understand. I shot a cut version where it was really heavily edited, and I shot a full video, and you could see exactly where they cut it up to make it look like their delivery was specifically dropped there for that specific reason, which it wasn't. Unlike most journalists, I'd like to look at the full facts. Unlike this guy from the Guardian, apparently. But I like to look at all the evidence before I make up my mind, which most people should do, by the way.
Well, during the height of the BLM, they were actually being delivered to random parking lots.
I've said, and
that were not attached to hardware stores and stuff like that.
Yeah, I understand that Black Lives Matter, and I understand that they ordered those specific supplies themselves and got them delivered themselves to do bad things. That was if you know what I mean, we're talking about two separate rights. I'm just talking about the LA one.
But conceptually, it's the same kind of thing because it's something that's been prepared.
Yeah, but the one in LA was just a delivery driver who just wanted to get the hell out of there. You know what I mean?
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. I don't blame the guy who just dumped his load and just ran with his truck. I don't blame him. I would have done the same thing. Because there was about 300 people coming towards him. It was just a wall of people.
Yeah,
I don't blame the guy. Yeah. No, what happened with Black Lives Matter was an interesting one. That was specifically where members of the public went onto industrial sites and ordered supplies and got them delivered specifically to cause harm. That was a completely different scenario.
Right. But the long and the short of that is that the prepared signs and the ordering of all kinds of naughty things to perform naughty business as far as violence and destruction of property, right?
Exactly.
Billions.
And by the way, there's parties on both sides are really well funded.
Oh, for sure.
Now, the socialist parties in the UK are very much like socialist parties here or there. If you think of any anti-immigration march, will always have a bunch of socialists disagreeing with you. You're going to have that.
It just seems really strange that you'd want your culture diluted to the point where you can't recognize it. It seems unsafe on its face. That's all.
They're socialists. What you think? Sorry.
Yeah. They're already in an awkward mindset. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Who are funded by education and transport unions, and more than likely circuitously, because Hope Not Hate were too, funded by the incestuous network of charities that have been bankrolled by government departments like the Home Office and Department of Work and Pensions ever since the establishment of the Charities Act of 2011, which said that the purpose of a charity can be advancing the goals of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so the government is mandated to finance open borders communist organizations that...
That's horrible. That is horrible. And that these people are taking advantage of that and using taxpayer money to fund what is counter to what the constituency has voted for is reprehensible. Absolutely reprehensible.
But there's a massive problem with NGOs on both sides of the water, by the way.
Oh, for sure.
NGOs are very, very, a lot of them are very left-leaning. I worked for and worked with a lot of NGOs over the years, and I was the type of guy just go in, do the job, and go home. But when you're sitting in the break room, you listen to them. There are some wild ideas. Very wild ideas. They're very insulated because they have a safe job, but they don't really have to worry about their next paycheck or
it's coming.
Their job being taken. Yeah, that's a scary thing. They're a special class of citizen that will never get affected by the economy, and they should be. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
because I've seen it. Here in Ireland, I'll give you one example. The head of the Irish Cancer Society, which is an NGO, he's on over 350,000 a year, plus bonuses and plus everything else. That's just one charity. funded by the government and public.
We have the same kind of issue when it comes to school boards and things like that, where the school board will have the directors and the board make a massive paycheck, right? Like way out of proportion with what the teachers get. The teachers are functionally on subsistence, and the board and the directors make an absolutely insane amount of money in comparison. Because they allocate the tax dollars however they see fit in the school district, because it's a district, right? We talked about some of the districts in the United States, right?
Yeah, the Buffalo is the one we were on about that time,
right?
And
well,
the amount of money,
like they also
was crazy.
They have fire districts. They have mosquito vector districts to ensure that mosquitoes that carry disease and things are regulated, right? But they also have school districts. The school district taxes the people in the space, and then whatever monies are produced by it, they allocate them as far as how much teachers get paid, directors get paid, how much they're going to put into all kinds of projects, as far as, let's say they want to make a new swimming pool complex at a high school, or they need to put in some portable buildings at a middle school, whatever it is, they allocate all those funds, but they are functionally unregulated, which means they can pay the people they want to pay whatever, and then they can do whatever they want as far as industrial type projects and stuff like that, but they're not regulated, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy even over here. They're somewhat regulated, but they put a lot under the hidden of administration costs, and you're kind of going, okay.
Right. And the admin
it's
costs
a very broad term.
Right.
Where by the time, say, for every €100 donated to charity, less than €1, maybe €2 might make it to the end cause.
Right.
By the time everyone takes a cut out of the pie.
Right. So one of the worst ones I've seen that is Susan G. Komen for The Cure. They're on the list of one of the 10 worst as far as what percentage of the donated monies goes to the cause. They're under 10%, and that's bad. If it should be a slight administrative cost to ensure that whatever research or whatever thing they're trying to help with is appropriately helped. And what he's saying is that when you include DEI, when you include equity, you get bad outcomes. You will always get bad outcomes, because I think DEI kind of slightly different over in this neck of the woods than it is, say, in the States. When we talk about diversity and inclusion, we're usually thinking of people who have severe disabilities and so on. Where in the United States, that's how it started. Then it kind of morphed into this catch-all. Right, victim groups. You know what I mean? Yeah, victim groups for sure.
Everyone jumped on the bandwagon. So
because it's free money. It's free money is what it is. You didn't have to do anything to earn it, and now you're getting it. So you can have this weird sense of entitlement, and then you're insulated from the effects, and so then you can have wild luxury beliefs, and it's just fine because you're not in danger of losing your check. So
it's absolutely crazy.
Let's get back to dude.
Agitate for the destruction of our country and feel oh so good about putting children's lives at risk from demented foreign criminals. So he says, I understand why people wanted to express their contempt for the people who tell lies about refugees. You were the one lying. But the chant didn't strike me as effective when I heard it, and the more I've thought about it since, I am convinced that it was the wrong strategy. There were fascists present at the demonstration. One banner...
You can't know that. You can't know that there were fascists present unless you are identifying them and then othering them so that you can make wild statements about what you think they are about. Right?
Yeah, I understand how he can make that, because it's a anti-immigrant protest.
Right.
And I've seen some of them. I've seen some of the footage over in the UK.
Right.
And some of the signs are just saying deport people and so on. And then there's other signs which are that there's no other way. They are pretty spicy. Is the word? Is spicy the word we can use? So I can understand why the fellow from the Guardian might come up with that conclusion. So I can see what he means by it. But at the end of the day, everyone should be allowed to protest, no matter what.
Oh, for sure. Like that I don't have any issue with that at all.
The minute you start bringing in laws to regulate people's right to protest, you end up with a very poor situation.
Right. Well, I think you need to ensure the safety of the public while that's going on, though.
I understand. The minute people say think of the public when they're regulating stuff like this, you normally find that it's used as a catch-all to stop certain types of protests.
Right, the ones you don't like. But the thing is if
The
you're
ones you don't like.
if you're blocking the motorway, if you're blocking movement of traffic, if you're blocking buses, people are trying to get to work, people are trying to get their lives handled. But if you block out the ability for people to move about, that's not particularly acceptable, right? Because
I think, yes, but I think it's also a legitimate tool of our protest is to disrupt, say, movement of people so they can bring spotlight to their protest.
right, but in that process, you also stop ambulances from moving, you stop law enforcement from moving, and if someone dies because you've decided to sit in the middle of the road
look,
and an ambulance can't get through,
they're unregulated protests, but a lot of protests, in fairness, I say in Ireland, same in the UK, you can apply to say, look, I'm doing a march on September 15th. We're going from this street to this street. Give them time. Most of the time, nearly all the time, they'll bring out the Gardaí or the police service over in the UK, and they'll cordon off that area, and everyone does a protest, and that's it. I think where people get annoyed is the unregulated protests, like you're saying, like the oil people who sit inside, who sit in front of buses and trains and do all this weird stuff. I think that's where people get annoyed.
But that's where that goes when people have luxury beliefs, because they believe that there's no accountability. They can do whatever they want with their unformed ideas and just piss on society and say, well,
I understand that.
So
I fully disagree with those type of protests where they're just doing wild, crazy stuff just to make a point. But we also have to be really careful that we don't throw out the baby with the bathwater, as they say, when we start regulating protests, because it can go down a very, very slippery slope.
Very quickly, yes.
Yeah. So we have to be really careful there.
Or hard right group. Again, doesn't name them. So smearing a group, as far as I know, as just fascists. And again, you're saying that the tactic wasn't effective. So the people that you and your side called Nazis are not themselves Nazis. So when you call these people fascists, do you understand that I do not take your word for this? So no matter who you identify as fascist and Nazi, whether or not the label is correct for one given group, because you have used it as a broad brush to smear all of your political opponents, that means that you are no longer credible and the accusation no longer has any purchase. When everyone from PewDiePie to Donald Trump to Sydney Sweeney is called a fascist and a Nazi, then nobody is a fascist and a Nazi. He says, the crowd did chant in support of Tommy Robinson. He's not a fascist. The latter, I suspect, is probably the link that organisations like Stand Up to Racism lean on when labelling the current anti-refugee movement as fascist. Many of the protests that...
But that's not necessarily true. An anti-immigration protest is saying you failed to comply with the wishes of the constituency. We told you to not do this since shortly after Margaret Thatcher's era, and they have continued to do it every year.
Well, there was always massive immigration into the UK, even during Margaret Thatcher's time, from my country and from other countries. I think what's happening at the moment is they're gone from average to 50, 70 odd thousand a year up to 3 to 4, 5 times that in the last couple of years. That's where they're getting hammered. But there was always immigration. This is unregulated immigration. I think what people are getting really annoyed at.
Oh, for sure. Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know that your numbers are correct on the front end, but yeah, unregulated immigration is going to destroy your culture. It just will.
Yeah. And because these numbers actually are from Nigel Farage himself. And I understand that you can have a certain amount of regulated immigration. You need to have a functional economy. You need a certain amount of tradespeople to come to your economy to make up for the shortfall. You need a certain amount of doctors, nurses, engineers, and so on.
Right.
Everyone is not arguing with that point. I think the point that everyone's getting annoyed at is we have hundreds of thousands of people who are unskilled coming into our and leeching off our systems.
Well, and then they don't assimilate, and you end up with certain kinds of shards of society, right?
Yeah, and you end up with a massive ghettos. You end up with this massive problems because they're coming from a different mentality than us. I know it's not a very popular opinion, but it's true. They're coming from a third world country. They're poorly educated, and most of them do not and will not integrate into Western society. They don't have the tool set to do it.
Well, and they don't want to. They don't want to, or they lack the capacity.
They're very limited people. That's nothing against them. There might be perfectly nice people. There might be really nice, genuinely nice people, but they just do not have the tool set or the mentality or the wherewithal, as they say long ago,
Yep.
to integrate into a Western society or into a modern Western society. Where it comes with a modern set of rules.
Well, and then there are certain sects that create spaces where those who reside there before are no longer allowed in the space. And they do things such as espouse Sharia law, which is absolutely against Western ideology.
I saw that headline. I looked into it myself, and it was a couple of crazy Muslim guys got together over in the UK. They brought a proposal to the local county council to do that, and they were just laughed out of the building.
Right, but the thing is once they get a certain amount of the percentage of the population, they won't get laughed out because they'll be in control of the political apparatus.
Yes, but I will give credit to the UK, to the prosecution service over this, that this will never be part, because it goes against the spirit and the mentality of their laws. Same as our Cork County Council, where I live, couldn't turn around and say, "Oh, look, in a certain part of Cork City, Sharia law is going to be." It cannot happen. It goes against state law.
Right.
But it'll never happen. They propose it all they want. They can jump up and down. They could have 100% of Cork County Council on their side. It still will not pass our upper and lower houses.
Right, the Delairn. Right.
Yeah. But that's across all Western countries, by the way. Most Western countries have that.
Right. It doesn't stop places like Wisconsin and Michigan from having huge enclaves, though.
But they can have the huge enclaves, but that's down to their politicians putting on their big boy pants and saying, "This is going against state law. Stop it."
Mm-hmm. That's what's supposed to happen.
That's down to them put on the big boy pants saying, "Look, this goes against state law." I'm not fluent in law in that area, but I presume they're roughly around the same mindset as we would when it comes to local
it's a Western
laws.
country, so yes, it's
they're roughly all
recognizable.
I wouldn't say that. Yeah, they're similar. They'd be roughly similar, but they'll turn around and say, "Look, this is not happening. This goes against these laws in our state. You cannot regulate have your own independent fiefdom within the state."
Right. You can't remove the sovereignty from the state.
It's impossible. And I've seen the headlines, and I understand that you have a bunch of loonies out there saying, they want Sharia law here and they want Sharia law there. That's not going to happen, by the way. Let's bear that in mind.
Right. Well, there's a pretty famous
unless they 100% take over a country.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Pretty famous interview with a fella in Canada who was talking about that. He said, eventually we're just going to take over. So just eat it. So, all right, here we go.
Yeah, they say that.
Organized by known fascists and Hitler admirers. But Robinson, unlike the fascists of the 1970s, doesn't leaven his speeches with reworked passages from Mein Kampf. He isn't a Hitler admirer, nor is he perceived as such by the movement. He used to boast of having a Churchill quote tattooed on his arm. He's worn a t-shirt that says he's like a member of the IDF, even though he's not. Yeah, your average Nazi supports Israel. It's not an accusation that washes anymore. You look absurd, and they're realizing it, and they're terrified that their old tactics aren't working. The strategy of labeling our enemies fascist depends on a context where the mainstream is willing to isolate and shame Nazis. You have just called everyone and their dog a Nazi, and so the word doesn't mean anything anymore. Those are not the times we are living in. So a smarter, more tailored message is necessary. And again, it was always just a smear tactic. That's what they're saying. They're saying that we applied the name Nazi to people who weren't Nazis to get you to cancel people on your own side because we knew that you did actually care about Nazis because they were immoral, they were genocidal. But now, because we have debased the currency of calling people Nazis, well, we need to find a new slip of paper that will convince you to renounce your right to exercise sovereignty over your own country, to protect your own people, and to practice your own culture. Well,
that's legit. That's literally all that we just said, all of those things, right?
Yes.
He's saying it's a slippery slope, and now they have to find another tactic to other people, and they have to tailor the message. And when you say tailor the message, what that means is you're going to have to smear them in a different way so that all these watered down terms that no longer carry any weight are then
to be honest,
reapplied.
I think what also is people are just sick of what's going on in their countries, and they just don't care what names you call them anymore. They literally do not care.
Yeah, stop.
And rightly so. They just don't care. Yeah. Like when you have people arguing against their own flags being put up, there's something deeply wrong with your own country. If people are giving out
the only time that's not acceptable is when your country is occupied. You see what I'm saying? If you can't have any pride in your country, any nationalistic zeal, then that's a problem, right? It means that your culture is getting watered down to the point where it's almost unrecognizable, right?
Yeah.
The Order of St. George and the Yukon, right? Come on.
Even the tricolor over my own country at the moment. I was reading a headline there where in Cork City they put up 170 tricolors all over the city.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, that's all right to do if they want to stick up tricolors everywhere. That doesn't really matter to me. That's their pride.
Yeah.
All right. They were literally, every single one of them was taken down overnight.
Oh my God.
By Cork County Council. Yeah.
That's absolute horseshit. 100%.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
But every other flag that was flying Cork was left there, though. Off the lampposts.
I'm betting that there were no Yukon Jacks or Orders of St. George, though. Just saying.
Yes, but I'm just saying the same things happened in the UK. Same things happened in the UK, though. Their flags have been ripped down as well.
Yep.
Now that we know that you're entirely disingenuous, now that the mask has slipped, you're never putting it back on again. He says, take Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Lord Chancellor, who recently attended an anti-refugee protest in Epping. Anti-fascists released a photograph from the protest featuring Jenrick with Eddie Butler in the background. Butler is a former election candidate for the British National Party and was the guru behind its Rights for Whites campaign in the 1990s. What was most revealing about the incident was what came next. A close source to Jenrick said he did not know who Butler was. Jenrick kept the photographs of his time in Epping showing on his X profile. He made it clear he wasn't embarrassed and the story dissipates to nothing. Yeah, because he probably didn't speak to the guy. The guy probably didn't bring up that he was a BNP candidate. Like, the conversation about his views
that's a nothing burger story.
Right, it's a nothing burger story.
Yeah.
So
well, the guy happened to be in the background of a picture where your man happened to be. That's the stupidest news story I've ever heard in my entire life.
Pretty much. So the rest of this video is Connor Tomlinson getting into some very, very specifics on the UK side. We've covered the big portions of this that we were concerned about.
Yeah.
The rest of the story is just getting into the minutiae, so we're not really going to get into it too much. But on a final note with this one, when your culture gets diluted to the point where you can't recognize it, and especially when the constituency is literally told to go screw themselves, eventually there's going to be conflict, right? And the way they're doing it is they're smearing the other side with labels that now carry no weight. There's nothing to them.
The way I see it is people are fed up of being called names to the point where, you know what, I'm still going to go and protest. I don't care what I'm going to be called anymore. People are burnt out and fed up.
Right. Well,
our health services are collapsing.
Yes.
Our school systems are being overrun. Our social welfare budget in Ireland and in the UK has doubled in the last 5 years, magically.
Right, because the resources are being extracted by illegal immigrants. It's just being taken. And it also destroys infrastructure. So now you have to pay more for infrastructure, incarceration. Like all of your resources are being stolen from you because of unregulated immigration.
And plus the cost of living has gone up. Everything else has gone up. People are just burnt out and fed up. And they're not taking it anymore. On both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, they're just done with it. Just done with it. So, all right. We got any final thoughts there, Patrick?
No, I think we covered all the bases there on that one. Actually, really interesting. Really interesting article, actually.
Well, I appreciate Mr. Tomlinson. So for Patrick McCallum, I am Alex Johansson. Please ring the bell, subscribe, do the things, and help us beat the algorithm. We'll catch you on the next one. We are out.